Aloha and welcome to the Caring Caregiver Show. I'm your host, Savy and the founder of Gimme a Break. And Gimme a Break is a nonprofit organization with a mission to care for caregivers. That's right, we're here for caregivers. And the Caring Caregiver Show is created simply to connect you with all the many resources that you need to survive your journey. Oh, did I use that word survive again? Yes, I did. So I was talking on a meeting just before this, and somebody brought up the fact that they had a caregiver in their group that was 76 years old caring for a 92-year-old mother. Wow, right? If you're a caregiver over the age of 70, your survival rate is only 30%. So 70% of all caregivers over the age of 70 will pass before the one that they are caring for. You're at high risk. Do you need these resources? Do you need support? Absolutely. That's why we're here. And we're here to help you get that support whenever you need it, which is why you can go on to gab808.org anytime, and you can fill out a caregiver support request. We're not saying that maybe you don't need the support right here and now. Maybe you just need to know about something. Maybe you have questions. Fill out the form. Get connected. We'll get back to you and get connected to our community. And in that way, we can refer you on to trusted partners who can give you the information you need to survive your journey. And not just survive, but then continue to thrive after. Get your life back. Doesn't matter whether you're in your 70s or 80s. Things are being accomplished all over the world by so many who are in those years of age, and yet they're running marathons. Well, maybe that's not your dream. Certainly not mine. But it might just be your dream to travel or to do some great, wonderful thing in the volunteer area. Maybe you want to help. Maybe you want to make a difference in the world, and you still can. And you need to be able to thrive after your journey, but you first have to survive it. All right. So for more information, we're here. We know it's hard. We know you need it. And that's what we do. We also give you a break every week. And what you can do is you can get onto our support sessions no matter where you are in the world. You can do that. Our support sessions are each week, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. I know that's hard for some of you because of the time change. But like I've said before, if you get 3 caregivers together, you contact me. I'll work on a time that works for all of us, and we'll conduct a special session just for you guys. Right now, we're going over your care receiving plan. And yesterday we talked about your documentation plan. And what are you doing about your documents, and what documents do you need? And it was very interesting because when I asked, do you have this? Hands did not go up. So if something were to happen to you today, I don't know, you get hit by a bus, right? Not that I wish that on anybody. Do you have what you need necessary for whoever's going to take care of you? Or if you don't survive it, what are they going to do? Do they know all of the things to take care of? Yeah, there's a lot there. So we review it every week, and just come on and let's get your care receiving plan together. Join our sessions. This is your positive safe space. And you can just connect to a community of caregivers just like you. Mind you, excuse me. There we go. I just took a drink of water before this. And now I'm sharing it with you. And water is a great thing to share. In fact, all of you go take a drink of water right now, because you probably haven't had one in at least 3 or 4 hours if you're caregiving. All right. So go ahead and do that. And like I said, these sessions are for you. Right? They don't cost anything. They're free. It's just your time. So make time to do that. Put on a set of headphones and do it on your phone and still continue to caregive. That's fine too. We're right here for you. All right. And join us. Also, get your copy and subscribe today to the Giver's Guides online magazine. This is your Caregiver's Guide to Caregiving. This is the current June issue. We're celebrating Men's Health Month. This is Darren, who's a volunteer with us, and you'll see that he's a double amputee. And also his wife pictured next to him was our Caregiver of the Year this past year. 2 wonderful, amazing people who continue to volunteer, who continue to get strong, and who continue to survive their caregiving experience. So a lot in there, some great things in the magazine for you to see and read. Gosh, there's just amazing articles, all directed at our guys. It's for the Men's Health Month, and it's male caregivers. That's 46% of all caregivers in the nation are guys. And it's creeping right up on half there. So, we're not just by gender. It's by what you need to survive this experience. We're all caregivers. And so, again, we did celebrate all the caregiving dads this past weekend. So I hope you were able to relax a little and enjoy, although I did see a lot of guys at Costco with their kids. So great job, guys. You needed some time for you. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that's giversguides.com. Subscribe today, and all profits. Once the bills are paid, all the money goes to Give Me a Break to help us to continue to do what we do. All right. And let me take that off. There we go. Not so seamless today. I know. Okay. All right. So we want to keep you motivated. That's what this is all about. And before every show, I always have some sort of an exercise for you guys. And this season, we've had the honor and privilege of having these motivational moments, thanks to Andy Pierce, and he's the but I can't get my button today. There you go. He's the founder of iBOUNCE Up. Hi, Andy. Aloha and welcome. We're so excited to see what motivation and positivity you have for us today. So I'm going to turn it over to you. All right.
All right. Thanks so much for having me again. I'm looking forward to sharing with you all something that has really helped me in my life and has also been heavily researched. And so I'm excited to share with you something about looking for the good each day. Sometimes when we go through life, it can be difficult to see the good. Sometimes when we have those, just really long days, especially as a caregiver, it can be difficult to see the good. And the reason that happens is because of something called the negativity bias. And the negativity bias is this thing that gets in our way where we tend to remember the negative things in our lives or throughout our day much more than the positive things throughout our day. So this keeps us from finding happiness at times, because if you get to the end of the day and you've only noticed and remembered the negative things that have happened, we tend to not see and not remember the positive things that happened in each of our days. So it's really vital for living a happy and healthy life to look for the good, to find the good. There's some days where we have to really search for it, right? There's those days when we got to really hunt for it. And then other days it's really easy. A bunch of good things happen and it's really easy to remember. And the negativity bias really is ingrained in pretty much all of us. I've had different experiences in my life where I have noticed the negative so much more than the positive. And so it's really about attention. Where are we putting our attention? Is it on the negative things or is it on the positive things? And our natural tendency as a human is to remember the negative things. It actually is a internal bias that we have to keep us safe, because we need to remember what the negative things are to keep us safe and out of danger. So I heard this quote once, and it goes like this: "It's not happiness that makes us grateful, it's gratefulness that makes us happy." And so looking for the things that are good helps us to find gratitude. And gratitude is that trump, beautiful emotion that we dictate whether we have it or not. And when we have it, we find that our day will be a lot more positive, a lot more happy. In fact, there's a researcher called Martin Seligman. He is actually the father of positive psychology and has spent his whole life understanding happiness and positive emotion. And he ran a study that lasted, or what he did was he took people and had them write 3 good things that they experienced each day. And they wrote in a journal at the end of the day. And the people that did it for 2 weeks or more had lasting benefits for over 6 months. And here are some of those benefits. They had stronger health, physical health. They were more calm. They had better sleep. They had stronger relationships. They had more life satisfaction, and there was lower depression. It's a whole lot of good just for going through and finding the good in your life as you go through it each day. And these are the 3 questions that he would have these people ask themselves and write or answer these questions at the end of the day. It was, what was the happiest part of your day? What was one kind thing someone did today? What was one kind thing you did today? And then the trick is, or where you get all the benefit, is when you reflect on that positive thing. When you really get into the feeling of the positive emotion. And that's when you get all the benefit of 6 months of benefit of all those different things I just mentioned, all from just 2 weeks of answering these 2 questions each night. So as you guys are thinking right now, just go ahead and take a moment and think about some of the good things that have happened in your life, either today or yesterday or in the last couple of days. And just kind of bask in that emotion and feel it and experience that emotion. Bring your attention to it. It really comes down to understanding that we have control over our attention. And we do have things that will pull our attention to negative, will pull our attention into the places that will keep us unhappy and frustrated. But if you are deliberate in taking your attention and focusing on the good things in your life and the relationships that you might have, the friendships you might have, maybe even the animals that you might have, your pets, and you will find that you will experience all those good things. So thank you so much for listening to me for just a quick 5 minutes. And I hope you learned something and can take that in your daily life.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you, Andy. I really appreciate that. We were just discussing that too. That was another point we were talking about in our sessions that we do each week. And I had pointed out to them that negativity, right, attracts negativity, and that it takes 5 positives to combat 1 negative. And so same thing, telling them all to practice gratitude. So whenever something negative happens, then you have to think of 5 positive things, right? And it seems hard, but then when you start putting your headspace in a positive area, things start to change. And I love that you shared that. So thank you for that. And thank you every week. Look forward to it. I can't wait to hear what you're going to share with us next week. Have a wonderful week, and thanks for coming by today.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you. Aloha.
Great. Yeah. Wonderful advice for you guys. Seriously. And founded on research, right? So, Andy's not just here talking about, he's living it, right? He's living it, he's researching it, and he's sharing that with you caregivers. So you can take that and you can move that into a positive headspace for yourself. We're surrounded as caregivers by so much that we can't control. You can control your positivity. You can control your gratitude. And I want to repeat those things. Those 3 questions for you guys. What was the happiest part of your day? So write that down. And what's one kind thing that someone did for you? And I'm going to tell you, sometimes this is a tough one when you're caregiving, right? Because you remember I talked about in the past how I didn't hear all the thank yous because I was too negative. So start listening for that one nice thing that somebody did for you. I'm sure there'll be a lot more. And one kind thing that you did as well, right? And so go through those 3 things, because I'm feeling really motivated right now, and I'm feeling super positive. And apparently my dog in the background is agreeing with me. So let's do that. And let's get on with the show. I want to bring on our guest today and talk all about Rose, right? And you're going to get to meet Rose. He's the CEO and founder of Prosperous Robotics. And this Mike Bankowski. Aloha and welcome. How are you, Mike? It's great to have you here.
Excellent. And great stuff from Andy. I'm a huge believer of positive affirmations, and really everything kind of changed for me once I recognized that. And I've even got to the point where I will record my own voice, positive affirmations, and then I'll listen to that. And it's like a double duty of positive affirmations, because I've already said it. Now I'm saying it again, and I'm listening to myself say it. But I truly
I love
believe
that.
positive affirmations are so good, and especially for caregivers.
Yeah.
Savy, you nailed it. You know, when I was a caregiver, you forget all the kind of little niceties of the nice things that, thank you for being here for my loved one, or thank you for doing this. And even though it's just a small sentence, it means so much. And if you can't accept it, then it just goes to waste.
And it just sort of vaporizes right into the negativity. Just becomes, there's a great movie that I used to love, and it was called The Never Ending Story. And in The Never Ending Story, and if you remember this old movie, and it was a book too, but there was this thing called the nothing, and the nothing would take over, and it came from people no longer believing. And
Yes.
so I think that happens with caregivers, is that we get absorbed by the nothing. And we don't realize that we can still write our own story, and that we
Yes.
just have to believe and don't stop believing. And so positivity is a great thing for that. But I mean, you have a caregiving journey. You talked about that. So let's share your caregiving story as well.
Okay. Yeah. So I really started caregiving at the age of 11. I grew up in a family of caregivers. So my mom was a nurse. My dad was a therapist, even though my parents were separated. My grandma was a nurse. I have aunts that are social workers, cousins that are CNAs.
Wow.
I mean, we could operate a nursing home just with my family alone. And so growing up in that, it just always was in my blood. And so at the age of 11, my grandma, and I openly tell people this, and it's okay. My family has given me the go ahead that I was the number one grandchild of my grandma.
We're not supposed to have favorites, right?
We're not, but if things work out, but I spent the most time with my grandma. My older brother was 6 years older than I was, and so my mom worked all the time as a nurse, as all caregivers do all the time. We're just constantly working, and so I was with my grandma, and we just hit it off. She kind of molded me into this competitive little boy that just wanted to do the best they could for everybody. So she would have me go do little errands for her neighbors, and I was just the little neighbor boy that listened to everything that grandma asked of him, and did it to try to be perfected to it. But when I was 11, she ended up getting mouth cancer, and it was a really bad ordeal. But because of our family, she was able to stay in her home. And so I changed her gauze. I would change her feeding tube. I would clean her trach, all things that normally 11-year-old boy
Don't do.
wouldn't
Yes.
don't do. But it just always, it felt comfortable to me. And because she was so wonderful to me, and really offered me the world, it was my way to pay back to her. And she ended up passing away in her home, and this was in the early 90s. So something that wasn't very popular back then, but it was such a beautiful moment when she passed, having all the family around her. We had a candlelight service, and I was like, this is the way to do it. And I saw that as an 11-year-old boy. So after my grandma passed, I went on to do little boy things, and really kind of forgot about caregiving up until 2006. My mom ended up getting sick, and kind of had a long drawn out illness from a botched surgery that she had for acid reflux. And one of those things that just kind of pisses you off about
Right.
our medical system that we have.
It happens, right?
and it happens all the time, and it happens way too much, and it shouldn't. There's better ways, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but she ended up getting sick and more sick until 2009 when she passed away. But for about 2 years, I was and my older brother were really kind of her part-time caregivers, which if you ever have caregived for a nurse, you you can't do much right.
Part time's like full time.
but she was always very appreciative, and we would joke back and
Right.
forth, like, hey, I'm not a nurse, Mom. I'm just trying to be the best I can.
Yeah.
And she would always, joke. She would say that I provided better care than nurses did when she was in the hospital. So that was a good sign,
Oh.
because nurses are like that. But
Yeah.
but it was a kind of long drawn out thing. 2 years. We moved her in with my family at one time, and it was just extremely difficult, way more difficult than taking care of my grandma. And she ended up spending 30 days in a hospice cottage, and during that time, really had some great conversations with her. She was still mentally there, and one of those conversations I had with her was, she said, Michael, she said, your future is in long-term care. Your future is in healthcare. You are a caregiver, and I highly recommend that you make a change in your career. And I told her, I said, Mom, I got into finance. I got a degree in economics. I got into finance because I thought caregiving was really kind of that hobby. I thought I did my diligence, my duty,
Right.
in taking care of grandma, and I just never thought of it as a career. And she said, no, Michael, this is in your heart, and this is where you need to be. Well, I was at the pinnacle of my career in finance because I had worked so hard. I wanted to make as much money as I could to help support my mom and get her to retire early. And it just ended up where that didn't happen because she got sick.
Wow.
And so I started kind of making calls, looking into becoming a nursing home administrator. But again, I was at the peak of my career, and things were running smoothly. But I had this constant nagging in the back of me, like of my mom saying, it's time for a change. And then in 2011, my older brother Jason died in a car accident, and that's when everything really kind of changed for me. That tragedy intensified my drive to make the change. And so within months after my brother died, I became a nursing home administrator. And with a degree in economics, I was lucky enough to, like I said, I come from a family of caregivers. That I had enough people around, including my brother. My brother was a director of communications at a hospital. So he knew everybody knew my brother, and they knew the type of person he was. And so they could vouch for me. They could say, well, he doesn't have any experience, but we think he's going to be a good nursing home administrator because of his family. And so there was a company that said, okay, we believe you. And so I got hired as a nursing home administrator. And day one, I knew that I wanted to be different than every other nursing home administrator out there. I got my CNA license. I was out on the floor wiping butts, taking care of trash, doing all the things that you wouldn't normally see a nursing home administrator do. And it really came from my mom. So my mom she worked 33 years as a nurse at the VA, but she also worked part-time in skilled nursing facilities. And so as a young kid, I would go in there. She'd give me a tour. She'd introduce me to the administrator, and then she'd walk away and she'd say,
Talk about laid the groundwork and the voice in your head, right?
yes.
Yes.
But she would walk away from these administrators and she'd say, Michael, he has no clue what I do. And so I didn't want to be that administrator. And so ended up really flipping the entire facility. We expanded into a whole new Medicare wing, and it was amazing. But the company I worked for wasn't the best up and up company. And with my degree in finance or in economics and finance, I ended up kind of realizing that they were not doing the right things with money, and our staff was feeling that. We were one of the lowest paid staff, CNAs, nurses in the city, and I was like, this needs to change. We've completely flipped the facility. We have the money to do it, and they wouldn't do it. So I said, all right, well, you guys aren't going to change. So 10 years ago, I opened a home care agency. And I did the same thing as a nursing administrator. I was the owner, the administrator, and a full-time caregiver. So I ended up accumulating over 10,000 hours of caregiving in the first 5 years of the agency. But
so just in case y'all think Michael doesn't have any experience.
Yeah.
That all of this comes out of all of that experience.
Yeah, if your audience saw me walk, they would say, okay, yeah, he's been a caregiver for 10,000 hours, because
right?
I know I've been there right with all the other caregivers. The chronic pain, and I didn't lead with this too, but I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran, and I'm a disabled veteran. I got hurt in the service, ended up getting back surgery, and so that all festered above being a full-time caregiver, and I wrecked my body, and I didn't take care of it. I didn't. I was also in a more of a, like Andy and you mentioned, I was really kind of in that negative state
headspace, right?
I was just going from client to client, just doing whatever I could to make sure that they were having a higher quality of life, a better day, but I didn't do the same thing for me. And if I would have known that stuff beforehand, I would have been playing positive affirmations all the time. It would have been on my a CD in my car,
constantly
going in between clients, just playing that constantly. I would have went to bed with it. I mean,
so now with all this experience, is that what brought you to the mobility issues and yourself and your own personal experience?
Yes. Great segue. So I've, through my back surgery and chronic pain, I've had mobility limitations ever since. So for the past 15 years, I've had instances where I haven't been able to walk for weeks. And what that does to somebody's independence, to somebody's dignity. And I'd have to, ask my wife to help me. And she's not a caregiver. It's not in her blood. And she'll tell you, she's very upfront with it. And it felt so horrible. And, just that shame, that guilt of depending on somebody else. And so that mobility part of it really came home to me in 2019. So I ended up taking a client that lived on a family farm away about 45 minutes from any city. And it was just him and his wife. All his kids were grown up, moved out of town. And he had ALS and Parkinson's. So mentally, he was incredibly sharp. He could baseball stats, wrestling stats, you name it. He could talk it. And his memory was just great. Even long-term memory was
phenomenal. Was just not there for him.
But his body, yes, he couldn't transition from bed to bathroom. He couldn't do sit to stand without assistance. And so I was with him about 90 days, and I did all that physical assistance just as any caregiver would.
Right.
But as I was doing it, I was as I was trying to find a male caregiver to replace me, or a female that felt like they could
Do
provide
the
the
heavy
physical
work.
sense, yes,
Right. Right.
that needed. Um, and I couldn't find anybody. And so I would talk to him about, well, what do you think about a machine that could do this? And he was like, yes.
Enter
I
the
would,
robotics portion of this interview, you guys. This is where it gets exciting.
I would absolutely love a machine. And so we started talking about it every single day. And we would Google the internet, and we couldn't find anything, a robotic walker, anything that
Nothing.
could physically assist, do a sit to stand, but then also provide assistance while he was walking.
Right.
And so finally, on his dining room table, I sketched the first image of what is now known as Rose, a robotic walker that has robotic arms that can provide physical assistance, physiological assistance, and emotional assistance. And I
It's not
talked.
just a walker. This is
Yes.
this. And I love that you put that it's emotional assistance in there, because who's this named after?
It's named Rose after my mom.
Yeah.
So totally meant to be. And I truly believe, in the spirit world, and as a human being on this planet, I truly believe that we can communicate with the spirit world. And I've felt, through meditation, connecting the spirit guides. And I know my mom is leading the charge of that spirit guides. And I know full well that she helped me with this innovation, sending little tidbits on how to do it and what's needed. And so from 2019, I ended up filing for a patent, because I talked to all my caregivers. I talked to therapists. I talked to nurses. And I was like, what do you think of this? And every single one, they're like, yes. Like, why has no one thought of this? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. But I did. And what should I do? And so, everybody would always say, well, you should get a patent for it. And I'm like, I don't think you could get a patent for this, because it just kind of looks like a walker, even though it's a robotic walker. And so finally, I stopped into a patent office that they're a block away from my home, and gave them the pitch. And they were like, okay. They were not in healthcare. They're like, this seems like it would work.
Understand this.
But we don't know. But we'll file a patent for you. Sure. You give us $8,000 and we'll file it for you. So after humming and hawing, talking to my wife, making sure she's okay with it, because, if you don't get a patent, you're out $8,000. And I filed the patent July 2nd, 2019. And I got the patent April of 2021. So it was almost 2 years. And when I got the patent, I instantly went to work. So started communicating with universities that were around me, and started building prototypes, and won a bunch of awards in 2021.
Because this is not just a walker that you lean on. It's like, I guess we would use the term, it's a smart walker, right?
Yes.
It has an intelligence to it, right?
Yes, nailed it. And that's the beauty of it, is that people often think so to give you an example of that, I would visit with engineers, and I'd show them the Rose patent drawing, and they would say, that's not possible. That's not possible. You would have to have Rose weigh 500 pounds. And just for the lift, for the dynamics, for the angles.
Right.
And I would just kind of walk away. I wouldn't argue with them. I just kind of, okay.
Okay,
the,
how do I
the
make
whole,
this work? Right.
yes, but the whole part of it and the beauty of Rose and what we're trying to do is we want to empower humans to do it themselves.
Right.
So Rose can provide the physical assistance, but it's providing it to the weakness. It's identifying what the strength is.
Right.
And so we're going to utilize the strength. So you may have a stroke patient and they have paralysis on one side,
It compensates
Rose,
for that side, right?
yes, Rose is going to identify that, and it's going to compensate, and it's going to really empower and bring out as much strengths that there is in the weakness side. And that is the whole part to it, is that it's a cobot in the sense of, the human is working with the robot to improve their lives. And I think that's what a lot of engineers, a lot of people missed on this innovation, is that it's not just some robot that's going to come pick you up and
take you somewhere,
take you somewhere. No, it's going
But
to come.
it also helps so if your right side's stronger, then it's going to allow you to use that by helping your left side. So then you don't lose more mobility, right? In fact, you might even gain back some mobility. I mean, it's brilliant, actually. I think that's the defining difference of what we're seeing here, is that this isn't just a walker that you lean on. This is something that helps to utilize your strengths and strengthen your weaknesses, right? I love that.
Yes.
I just love that. I love that. And, it made me think of something too, because caregiver shortages, right? So 5 years ago, the statistics were that there were 7 caregivers to 1 person needing care, right? That's 5 years ago. And just in the short 5 years, that statistic now has gone to 4 to 1. So there's only 4 caregivers to 1 person. And that's just it's going to keep going down because the boomers, right? And we're going to have a shortage of caregivers in so many ways, even family members. And I know I used to have to carry my mother all over the place to get her in and out of her wheelchair and throughout my back, right?
Yes.
And so especially with Parkinson's, which is a dementia patients, it can help to utilize what's still there. And so I don't know. I'm jumping all over the place because I'm super excited about this, right?
You brought up a good point too, and you're 100% right. We are in a caregiver crisis, and it's global. They're saying that by 2030 there's going to be a shortage of 18 million caregivers. Yeah, that's
scary. It's daunting. We really have to think about where we're going now. And this isn't a retrospective, we shoulda, coulda, woulda. This is we need to do something now about this, because you need your independence for as long as you can have it.
Yes.
And this really provides for that. I think so.
Yeah. So the biggest market for Rose is actually just those people you just mentioned, the family caregivers, the unpaid family caregivers. I saw a stat the other day that there's 36 billion hours of care is given by unpaid family caregivers. That is valued at $600 billion.
And let's multiply that just a little further. 70% of those lost their source of income because they were either terminated or had to leave their jobs.
Yes.
It's like the crisis out there is so crazy. And so anytime we can come in with something like this that allows the caree, the person who needs the mobility, to have that and know that they're safe, and that you've got a smart device there too, which is watching out for them, and that we can support the caregiver, the more reason for it, right? And I love that. I think, and I know Rose. And I know your mom. I feel like I know your mom now. So hi, Rose. And she's probably watching us now.
Yes.
And trust me, after this, she's going to tell you about 5 more things to add to Rose. But just the fact that it's so inspired by your experience, by your mom, and by how you grew up, and really with a caregiver heart, is so important for caregivers to know that this is out there.
Yes.
I know we're running short on time, so I want to talk about your innovation night, your caregiver innovation night, and your weekly discussion. Let's talk about that. The Caregiver Bot Show. Let's talk about it.
Yes. So we're just launching the Caregiver Bot Show. For years, I've been hosting really kind of more of a local, regional Zoom chat for doing Caregiver Innovation Night. And it's just an opportunity for caregivers to come on, and they don't need a PowerPoint, but most do, just a simple PowerPoint just to keep keep the flow going, and just present what their idea is. Because a lot of times caregivers, just like me, come up with these ideas because we're in there. We're getting our hands dirty,
and there's nothing.
And there's right. We need this. There's that. Nobody's created it yet. And so, as a caregiver, we have to identify that we can innovate, we can create, and we can get these products on the market. It's just going to take a little bit of help. It's going to take all of us come together, just like the people that have supported me and backed me. It is just finding that innovation that is important to a lot of people, and giving those caregivers the opportunity and the help to make that dream a reality.
And the difference between a caregiver and anyone else is that we have that give back spirit, right?
Yes.
And I love that. So yeah, the Caregiver Bot Show. So you guys can get a hold of Michael. Just go to prosperousrobotics.com, prosperousrobotics.com, and contact him. Ask him any question you want. There's probably going to be a million after this, and if not 2 or 3, maybe 30. And then and find out more information. Also, information about how to get involved with the Caregiver Bot Show, because I think, again, as a caregiver, this is not our life's journey. This is a temporary stop in our journey, and then your life continues, and you need to thrive after caregiving. And in order to thrive, you can give back and you can get involved. And so be a part of what's going on, because there's so much out there and there's so much going on. But in the interim, if you should need a rose bot, contact Michael. Any last thoughts for all of our caregivers out there?
Just stay positive. We're all empaths as caregivers. We're empaths, and so we take on other people's energies, and making sure just to protect your energy, and to keep that light glowing bright, and stay positive. So important for caregivers, and also want to end with this. Thank you for being a caregiver. We wouldn't be able to do it without you.
Yeah, let's do it. I haven't done this in a while. Take your hand, folks, put it on your shoulder, tap your shoulder, and say, add a caregiver. Add a caregiver.
Yes.
Good job. Okay. Don't
Living
forget
angels.
To give yourself your props. I love that. Thank you so much for being on today. What a great conversation. Again, like I think when I first met you too, I'm so honored to have you on the show. But I think when I first met you, I felt like we could talk for just days. Right.
We could. Yes.
So thank you for sharing and for all that information. You all want to meet him. You are going to want to get to know Michael and contact him. So prosperousrobotics.com. You guys get a hold of him. Thanks again, Michael, for being on, and we'll keep in touch. I want to know how things are going, and I'm going to keep a rose bot reserved for me.
Well, to be 100% honest, Savy, I will personally deliver any roses to Hawaii. So
I love it. Oh yeah, of course.
Count on that. Count on that.
And be careful. Our conversation just before the show, when we were talking, you come to Hawaii, you don't leave,
That's
so
right.
You got to be careful. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And thank you so much for being on and for sharing a rose with us.
Thank
Aloha.
You. Aloha.
Wow, that was great. And like I said, there's so much out there that I wish I knew when I was caregiving. And so I'm here to share that with you. That's what it's all about. I'm so excited. Again, contact Michael Bankowski at prosperousrobotics.com. Right there on the screen if you're watching. And for those of you listening in, that was great. That was an awesome discussion. So next week we're going to meet Dr. Jonathan Nall, who is going to share his caregiving story with us, and more motivation from Andrew. And so we're really excited about that. And I want to just talk about Jonathan, who's going to be on next week. He was a test pilot for many, many years and served in the military as well. And so his book called Final Approach, A Caregiver's Guide to taking care of loved ones is kind of a whole different take on caregiving that I think you're really going to enjoy next week. So tune in, don't miss that. And make sure you don't miss our show every Wednesday right here on whatever platform you're watching, because we're streaming live on 7 different platforms. So if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube or on LinkedIn, make sure you come back every Wednesday at 12 noon and tune in. And if you don't make that, that's okay. You can always hear it in podcast a week later. Go on to any podcast app. I don't care what it is, Spotify, Google, I don't know. There's a million of them now, and we're on all of them. So just type in Caring Caregiver Show, and you can listen to any episode. If that doesn't work, I got a backup for you. Just go onto our website. Go on to caringcaregivershow.com. Right there on the screen, caringcaregivershow.com. Go onto the website, and you can listen to the audio of any past episode, any episode you want to watch. Okay. And my dog agrees. There you go. So season 15 is filled with so much to help you survive and then continue to thrive after. I think I'm getting an Amazon delivery. That must be why she's barking. I apologize. All right. So you can be here and don't miss any episode. Put a calendar reminder in. And please remember that the Caring Caregiver Show is in combination with Gimme a Break. We're here for you as caregivers. You can go on to our website, gab808.org, for more information and support. And get dialed in. Get your subscription to Givers Guides. It is the only magazine out there written for caregivers by caregivers. And it's online. You can take it with you anywhere you go. You can read an article about how to practice mindfulness, how to meditate in 2 seconds, and how to be positive right there when you're in the doctor's office and you're waiting. So take advantage of that. That's there. And we're here live every Wednesday. So just whatever you do, caregivers, stay connected. Stay connected to a community, because you do have a community. All right. And remember, breathe. Just remember to breathe. Here's hoping that you're finding more joy in your caregiving every week, and especially here on the Caring Caregiver Show. Thanks for tuning in, and always be kind to yourself, and especially to those who are caring. Aloha, everyone. See you next week.